on.
Take a look at your
Looks like
own
it's just
hand.
you, doesn't it? Well, here's the thing. It's not. You're actually a walking, breathing ecosystem, just teeming with life. And some of that life is locked in a pretty dramatic struggle for survival. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that hidden world as we dive into the secret life of a parasite. It's a great question, right? And, from a biological standpoint, the answer is a huge no, not even close. We are never, ever truly alone. Think about it. Our bodies are like these bustling cities for countless tiny organisms. Some are the good citizens, helping out. Others are just kind of there, neutral bystanders. And then there are the others, the ones with, let's say, more sinister plans. At the very heart of this whole conversation is one core idea: dependence. This isn't just about things that make your skin crawl, not at all. It's about understanding the incredibly complex relationships that living things form with each other, all in the name of survival. And yeah, that field of study has a name: parasitology. It sounds fancy, but it's really simple if you break it down. You've got parasite, that's the organism, and lology, which just means the study of. So it's the science that's dedicated to understanding these really intimate, really dependent relationships. Now, here's where it gets really cool. This whole idea of parasitism, it's just one end of a much bigger spectrum. All of these living together arrangements fall under one big umbrella term: symbiosis. And as you're about to see, it's not always a horror story. First up, we have mutualism. This is the absolute win-win scenario in nature. The classic example, a bee and a flower. The bee gets nectar to make food, and in the process, it pollinates the flower, helping it to reproduce. Everybody walks away happy. Both partners get exactly what they need. Next, there's commensalism. I like to think of this as the freeloader relationship. One organism gets a benefit, while the other one, well, it's not helped, but it's not hurt either. It's totally unaffected. A perfect example is a little amoeba called Entamoeba coli that can live in our gut. It gets free food and a place to stay, but as long as we're healthy, it does us no harm at all. It's literally just along for the ride. And that brings us to the main event: parasitism. This is the classic win-lose. Here, the parasite benefits directly, but always at the expense of its host. The most straightforward example you can think of? A mosquito. It gets a blood meal for its eggs, and we get an itchy bite and maybe even the risk of a disease. A clear win for one, a clear lose for the other. So let's just recap that real quick. Mutualism is a plus-plus, both benefit. Commensalism is a +0, one benefits, the other isn't affected. And parasitism is a +-, one benefits and the other is harmed. It's a really simple way to frame these super intricate biological partnerships. Okay, so we've got the types of relationships down. Now let's meet the players in this drama. In a story of a parasite, every character has a very specific role to play, and a lot of the time, that role is defined by where they live. The first big distinction is location, location, location. A parasite that lives inside the body, like a hookworm, is an endoparasite, and what it causes is an infection. But a parasite that lives on the outside, like a tick or lice, is an ectoparasite, and that causes an infestation. It's a really crucial difference: infection on the inside, infestation on the outside. And the host itself, the home, it's not always so simple either. The definitive host is where the parasite grows up, where it reaches sexual maturity. Think of it as the final destination. The intermediate host, on the other hand, is kind of like a nursery. It's just a temporary home where the parasite spends its younger larval stages. And get this, there's even a support crew. A vector is basically the parasite's delivery service, an organism like a mosquito that physically carries it from one host to the next. Then you have a reservoir host. This is an animal out in the wild that can carry the same parasite, which keeps the whole infection cycle going and creates a reservoir of disease. So we know the players and we know their roles. But how do these invaders actually make their move? How do they get past our defenses? Well, it turns out they have a surprisingly simple playbook. And here it is. The gateways are often things we run into every single day. Contaminated food and water are huge ones. So are raw or undercooked meats and bites from insects. Parasites can even get you through contaminated soil, simple direct contact, or even by just inhaling tiny airborne eggs. So let's trace a tapeworm's journey to see how this works. First, the nursery. The larval stages develop in an intermediate host, like a pig. Next, the meal. A human, who will be the definitive host, eats some undercooked pork that has those larvae inside. And finally, maturity. The tapeworm grows up into an adult inside the human, and boom, the cycle is complete. It's a simple but brutally effective strategy. So what's the big takeaway here? The bottom line. Even though there are a bunch of ways to get infected, the single biggest, most common superhighway for parasites into our bodies is right through our mouths. What we eat and drink matters a lot. Now, knowing how they get in is half the battle. So what happens when they actually succeed? How do we fight back against these unseen invaders? Well, we've got a multi-layered defense strategy. Our number one tool, our primary weapon, is deworming. This means using specific antiparasitic drugs that are designed to either kill the worms or just, well, expel them from the body. It's incredibly effective and it's a true cornerstone of public health. But how we use it can vary. Selective treatment is a one-on-one approach for a person who's been diagnosed. Targeted treatment focuses on a specific high-risk group, like all the kids in a particular school. And then there's universal treatment, which is a massive effort where an entire community gets treated to break that cycle of transmission. Of course, you know what they say, the best defense is a good offense. Prevention is absolutely everything. This means things like clean water and sanitation, cooking our food thoroughly, practicing good personal hygiene, and controlling those vectors like mosquitoes. These simple actions are our most powerful shields. So, as we wrap this up, what's the big picture? After this journey into the parasites world, what's the main thing to take away from all this? I think the key takeaway is that parasitism isn't some weird fluke of nature. It's a testament to the power of evolution. Parasites are absolute masters of survival. Their complex life cycles are these finely tuned strategies that have allowed them to thrive for millions of years, all by exploiting the intricate connections that exist between all living things. And that leaves us with a final thought to ponder. We've seen relationships that are helpful, harmless, and definitely harmful. But in a world where almost every living thing depends on another in some way, where exactly do we draw the line between a welcome guest and a dangerous invader? The answer isn't always as clear as it seems.